Time to turn up the volume and hit the road with another powerful episode of Truckers' Voices. Join us tonight as we bring you real stories, real conversations, and real voices from the heart of the trucking industry. From the highways to the home front, we're shining a spotlight on the men and women who keep America moving. Before we get rolling, we want to give a special shout out to Reese Across America Radio. You can find them at reaseacrossamerica.org/radio. You can also listen to them anytime on the iHeartRadio app, as well as the Odyssey app and the TuneIn app. Just search the keyword Reese Across America and stay connected to the mission that honors our heroes and supports our nation's drivers. So buckle up, invite a friend, and get ready for a great conversation. This is Truckers' Voices. I'm your host, Tim Taylor, and my co-host is Steve Brand. So let's get ready to roll. Opinions expressed on Truckers' Voices are those of the host and the guest and do not reflect the views of any employers, affiliates, or organizations for informational and entertainment purposes only. Well, good evening to you. It's Tim Taylor back with you again on Truckers' Voices. Hey, what a show we have got lined up for you guys and gals tonight. Hey, I hope that if you're out there trucking still that you are doing it and you're doing it safe. And I would just want to say, hey, you keep America moving forward, and everything that everybody has, it's delivered on a truck. And part of it's probably on your truck right now. So you're making a difference out there, and I want you to do it safely, not only just for the those that's traveling around you, but for those that you come home to every day. And before we really get into the show, and before I bring my co-host Steve on here, I just want to give him a very, very special shout out tonight. Steve has accomplished a great thing. He was named 2026 Citizen Driver. I'm going to kind of throw something up there. There's a picture of Steve holding his award this past week in Louisville, Kentucky at Matt's. I just want to say congratulations to our co-host Steve for what a great accomplishment that is. And I'm going to let him come on here and tell you just a little bit more about it here in just a minute. So with that said, let's bring Steve in here. Hey, say that, Steve.
Well, you know, Tim, how's everybody doing out there tonight? Hope everybody's doing. Thank you for that recognition there. I'm very honored to represent TA Petro, and I'm very humbled at the same time.
Absolutely. It is a great honor to be a Citizen Award winner. And, it's for the things that, we do that, we don't expect to get recognized for. It's just something that we do in our everyday lives. And it's it's because we want to do it. We want to make a difference in our communities for sure.
Exactly. It's who we are. And the group of drivers that was there from past recipients last week, just to talk to them individually, hear their stories. And it just warms your heart. I mean, everybody goes out here and runs 60, 70 hours a week, and then the work that they do after the fact is just totally amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And to be recognized for it is like I said, it's very humbling. We do a lot of stuff that we don't ask to be recognized for. It's just because it's who we are. It's what our parents and grandparents taught us, and we taught our kids and future grandkids and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got a great guest that actually is a friend of the and supporter of the trucking community, and it's just so great to have her coming on here with us. And so, you know what? Let's get right on into the show. And I missed you last week. We had a great interview with Nathan Wick there. It was a good interview. But you know what? We got some good interviews coming up. But tonight's one of the best that I believe that we can get on here. So,
yes, sir.
We've been trying to get her on here a while. Some things happened, and we'll leave that. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But let's bring Lindsay on here. So, everybody, Miss Lindsay Lawler.
Hello.
Hi, Miss Lindsay. How are you doing?
Hi, thank you for that applause and the millions of people watching now. It's great to hear you. I'm being cliche and wearing my truck. I actually didn't even do this on purpose. This is just what I was wearing today, guys.
Well, Lindsay, it's so good to have you on here, and it's been a while coming. And I know that there's some things that happened that the last time I had you scheduled on here, it just was not good. It just was not good. So, but we do appreciate you coming on and talking with us on Truckers Voices. The premise of our show is, mainly just us talking about truckers. It's called Truckers Voices and stories about how guys and gals got into the trucking industry. But also, we bring people on here that, support the trucking industry. And you have been a big advocate of the trucking industry for a long time. Um, so I'm going to not say too much because I don't want to get into your thunder there. Let you bring that to the table. But Lindsay, I just wanted to start off with just a few questions here. And so you know, when did you first realize you want to pursue a career, in country music? Because she is a country music singer and songwriter. So when did you first figure that one out?
Well, I mean, I've been singing since I was very little, and I don't, I come from I'm born in Oklahoma, raised in Texas, very practical family yet supportive. I think my, family saw from an early age that I had the entertaining bug in me. I would, a couple things come to mind. We'd be out for dinner and I would say I would like I need to go to the bathroom, and I'd get up to go to the bathroom and end up sitting at somebody else's table talking to him, or I'd wander off. We'd be on vacation and Florida at the beach, and I'd wander like every year. I feel like my family would go when I was young to spring break at like, Panama City or Destin or Padre, places with like crazy wild college spring breakers, and I would wander off and end up on stage at like, MTV Spring Break, and my parents like couldn't find me at 7 years old. It is a wonder I was not kidnapped as a child. Um and so it was definitely always in my DNA to sing. And I grew up singing in church and then also at the country bars, hashtag balance. And then went off to school at Oklahoma, OU, Boomer Sooner, and was the song leader at my sorority, and was ended up kind of leaving that behind and joining a band, a rock and roll band, a bunch of dudes that were, jamming out in a garage one day I stumbled into, and became the lead singer, which really changed my whole trajectory. And uh, after I graduated college, moved out to LA. I was in a rock band out there as well, and then moved to Nashville. I've been in Nashville almost 20 years now. Started singing at Tootsie's. Um, Going back to my country roots, being raised, down in Texas and Oklahoma, back to that, and sang at Tootsie's, which is downtown in Nashville, as well as several other bars down there, and really started. Two things kind of happened through that. A started building a fan base or finding places to play based on, so many tourists come through here, always have. And I would people that would kind of consistently come back to see me perform, I would kind of find out where they were from and say, what bar is cool up where you are? What's your local radio station? And, how can I get hooked in that? So I'd started kind of doing small tours that way, and also performed at the Great American Trucking Show 18, 19 years ago. Rest in peace. And was performing, in the back corner singing Itsy Bitsy Spider for truck drivers' kids. And that's when I heard about the Highway Angel program. And we can unpack all that, but that's when I started really through Highway Angel hearing about truck driver stories and realizing how similar touring artists, that my scenario was, to truck drivers. Now, I mine is not as hard as being a truck driver, but the inconsistency and being out on the road, being away from your family, trying to stay healthy, all those things. And I just started realizing that I could share these men and women's stories, um, not from the perspective behind the wheel, but from the perspective behind the road, and drivers would share so much with me. And we can talk more and more about what was set up with Truck Stop Tour or whatever, but I just really found a heart for trucking, and still do, always have, and hope that I can continue to be a trusted voice for truckers' voices.
Absolutely, absolutely. And who were some of your biggest musical influences growing up?
Oh, well, Reba. I love me some Reba.
We love Reba.
Who doesn't love Reba? Even if you don't like love her voice, you just know her voice. You know her heart. You know everything about her. She's wonderful, and I know several people in her camp who have nothing but wonderful things to say. So Garth Brooks, Reba McEntire, of course, George Strait, the King, of course, Vince Gill. Grew up on all of them. Willie Nelson. I think I found a heart for Willie later in life when I really became a songwriter and read Willie Nelson's autobiography, I guess. If you haven't read it, it's so good and he really delivers it non-linear where he's bouncing all over the place. And you just realize what Willie does is just look around and start talking and that becomes a song. And it's so basic yet so profound that he sort of changed my world as a songwriter.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I want to ask you this question. It's kind of off the cuff here. Speaking of being a songwriter, today, we're all bombarded with AI, and there's a lot of people that's using AI to write songs and do this other kind
Mhm.
of stuff. What's your personal feelings on that? Because we'll get into the other part of it a little bit later as far as writing. But what's your personal opinion on that?
My opinion is that we need to embrace it. It's not going away. We cannot fight AI. It is here.
Okay.
And I think as long as my take is, I think Grammys, CMA, whoever, they just need to make a category for AI music and a category for human music. That is my take. And be very upfront about it and say, this is an AI produced song. Because there's some, I hate to say it, but there's some really good AI produced music that you wouldn't know was AI, or even if you did, it's really good. And and just let it exist together yet separate, I think. Cool thing that actually the Grammys did this year was introduce a traditional country category outside of just country. I think for the longest time, country, it's one specific thing, existed with every other genre, and every other genre had so many different applications, and then country was just sort of alone. So you've got like Jelly Roll up against Willie Nelson, which didn't make a lot of sense, or whoever, fill in the blank. And
Yeah.
so I think, I mean that's separate, but I think them splitting that off kind of to realizing everything can exist, as long as you embrace it and as long as you own it. So yeah, I think if you could, I mean, AI is letting people, quite frankly, like me, I'm not a fabulous musician. I kind of play guitar and I play piano a little, but I hear melodies, I write lyrics, I that's how I write, but then I need to sit down with a guitar player to really have it all come to life.
Yeah.
If I could use AI to not have to rely on another human, maybe it could be beneficial for me. I don't know, as long as I'm being upfront about what I'm doing with it. So, uh,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that song that you heard in the beginning of my introduction when I was talking, that was AI song behind me that I had put some stuff in and about truckers' voices there, right?
there
So
you go.
that's what that was. So time in the trucking industry, as far as time in trucking radio, let me put it that way. Many people remember you from the Dave Nemo show. How did that opportunity first come about? How did you get in there with Dave?
Yeah, well, we love Dave, of course. Who doesn't love Dave Nemo? And I started when I was the spokesperson for the Highway Angel program through the Truckload Carriers Association. I would be a guest every once in a blue moon on Dave's show. TCA, I think, did a weekly or monthly segment with him. So I would be a guest on his show, talking about the Highway Angel program. So we developed a relationship that way. There's some truck drivers messaging me right now. It's popping up my phone saying, "I'm trying to find you." And I'm like, I don't know how to tell them. I'll try to message him. Anyway, um, and so yeah, so when Jimmy Mack was doing the weekend show, and they decided at one point they wanted to find a co-host to kind of step in with him, and he reached out. He had announced me or brought me on stage for a couple different events here and there. And I've been working in radio since I was 16, actually. So between having the radio background, the music background, and the trucking background, it was a pretty good trifecta to land alongside there with them. And yeah, it became a little match made in heaven there for a while, a place for me to to get my message out and have a kind of a different perspective, talk to drivers, and add a female voice to the boys network over there, which is never a bad thing.
Right, right.
So yeah, so that was neat, and now we're just parlaying it into all the things that come next.
Oh yeah, I'm going to let Steve have a shot at the microphone here just for a little bit, but go ahead there, Steve.
Well,
Yeah,
Steve, before you talk, I gotta say congratulations to you because it's so exciting. This Citizen Driver Award is such a big deal. I personally don't think anybody does image better than this program. I think TA Travel Centers of America, their Citizen Driver program hits
right.
it on all the programs I've seen, and I've seen a lot. They do it really well. And as a judge for the program, I can tell you it is not easy because the so many of the drivers' stories are incredible, including yours. So congratulations. It's an honor, sir.
Well, thank you very much. And like I said, I'm very happy, but yet I am humbled because it's just and to hear everybody's story there last Friday, talking to them individually, it's a newfound family, and I'm proud to be a part of it. Uh,
Awesome.
so, oh, there you are. Can you kind of give us some of your favorite moments or interviews during your time at the Dave Nemo Show?
Oh gosh. Yeah. Here's what's the most interesting to me. This has happened with my music or a show I've been on, or every people, I think there's so many people that think when they're talking to truck drivers, they have to just talk about trucking.
Right,
And I'm here to say, P.S. guys, truck drivers are also human beings and like everything else as well. So, since I'm not a driver myself, but I do know about, driver issues, I was able to step in and be sort of the entertainment and the music liaison and the human interest piece, or however you want to say it. And so the kind of people that I got to introduce truck drivers to a lot of my friends that are songwriters and actors and authors, and things they could listen to that had a trucking perspective. And so many of my friends in entertainment wanted a chance to talk to truck drivers and say thank you for what you do, what can I do to support you out on the road, that kind of thing. So man, we talked to Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's like, I don't like an astrophysicist, I don't even know what you call him, he's so smart. And I was like, how am I going to talk to this person? And it was one of the most incredible conversations because he talked about the fact that he thinks trucking is like a wormhole. The fact that you get in your truck and then all of a sudden several hours later you're at another location. He talked about transportation as this sort of portal, and the way he broke it down was just kind of fascinating. So he was great. The guitar player for the Foo Fighters came on and was just so wonderful about talking to truck drivers about, hey, I get to connect with truck drivers when I'm at truck stops out on tour. Like, so I think anytime I could find some synergy for people outside of trucking
right,
to see how great trucking is, because guys, it is one of my biggest like missions in life to make people understand. I think everyone within the trucking industry spends a lot of time and money and effort telling each other in the trucking industry how great it is. And we
right.
got it. As drivers, as corporate, anybody, we know trucking is great and the world needs it. It's the people outside that need to understand that. So I feel like that's what I bring to the table, not being a driver myself, but be having a platform and a voice, being able to say, come look at this, come look at this amazing group of humans that A, we can't live without, and B, um, are really amazing people doing great work in the world that we should hear their stories.
With you saying that, my dad's been retired about 18 years, and he spent about 40 years out here, and he started in the late 60s. And kind of going back to what you said, Reba being one of your mentors, back through the 60s, 70s, 80s, and the 90s, things kind of changed. And you can relate to this as a country music star and writer and everything, traveling on the road. Back in those days, Dad used to tell stories that everybody traveled by bus and everybody stopped at the truck stop. And guess where the stars ate? They ate at the round tables with the truck drivers because
Mm,
truck drivers was their bodyguards. They protected them. They didn't, hoard them with, give me an autograph, give me pictures, all that stuff. Of course, there wasn't no cell phones back then. And just on a personal note, back in '89 when I started, Reba was doing her fair tour. She was going fair to fair. And I had a conversation with her bus driver, and she come up and waved at all those guys talking, and she was just sitting there, and she was just kind of getting new into the industry and everything. And that was kind of a proud moment that, you was kind of their protector. So,
That's cool.
truck drivers do a lot. And the industry's changed now, and we don't have that reputation like we used to have, but they're still out there. We're still out there. Um,
That's cool.
yes, very cool. Your time on the show, what did that teach you about the trucking industry?
Um, wow, so much. I mean, I think, well, the first thing that comes to mind is how I think we need to let drivers drive.
Right.
Like, there's so many things, I guess, with AI, technology, with just distractions and policies and issues and regulation. There's so much that goes into it. And so many drivers got into this because their daddy did it or their granddaddy did it, or now their mother did it or their grandmother did it.
Right.
And they just want to drive and they just love the open road, and we're so much as I think there's so much that we're putting in drivers' minds that takes them away of why. That's not only is it a love of it, it's a very necessary, you have to be very necessarily focused. And anyway, I just think that there's so many things that are in the mix that have gotten in the way of drivers just being able to drive. And so it's sort of a convoluted way of saying it, but I just love when drivers would call in, or I'd put the word out and be like, what is it that's interesting you want to talk about it now? And so many drivers would say, I just want to drive, and there's so much getting in the way of that. So I don't know. I think that was the biggest thing for me to realize. It's not just a man or woman behind the wheel anymore. There's so much they have to deal with, and we need to societally, do everything we can to make it as easy for them, make a very hard job as easy as possible, so you guys can just do your job, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Is there a story or two that stuck with you over the years that come from a driver?
Oh gosh, so many. Gosh,
Oh yeah.
so many. I mean, the best was, man, when I was out on the Highway Angel truck stop tour, which we did for a couple of years. And let me just say real quick about that. What was interesting, in theory, it was a great idea. We were like, we're gonna go out on the road. We want to do free concerts for truck drivers as a give back, as a way of, when you're passing through a TA Petro, take a load off, pun intended, kick your feet up a little bit and sit here with us. Um, but they were like, listen, we don't have time to sit and listen to your music. We got to fuel up, we got to rest, we got to eat, we got to get out of here. So drivers, they would say to like other drivers, they'd be like, on the CB, just saw Lindsay in Atlanta, check her out, they're heading to Florida or whatever.
Right.
But we met so many drivers that, by the way, would have I was proposed to multiple times. That was always fun. I was given all kinds of trinkets. One guy had a tiny monkey in a diaper. I'll never forget the things that I saw that people carry in their trucks. Always, floored me. It was amazing. One driver told me, and this sounds negative, but it's not. He told me about the multiple children he had in different cities,
Right.
and at first I was like, "Well, buddy, you need to get it together. You're getting around a little too much." He's like, "No, no, no. I'm telling you that." He's like, "Because I'm driving in order to take care of those kids, and I go to each city to see them all." And I'm like, "Okay, you do you. No judgment."
Exactly.
Um, Honestly, it was just the family aspect. Trucking is such a family, both as your own families and the trucking family as a whole. And I think it's just the most unseen, unsung group of people. Um, and I just hope to to continue to try to change as much as possible. I'll think of a particular story here as we go through, but I will say Gary Salisbury, who is who is kind of who helped me get involved, one of the guys that helped me get involved with TCA. He's been a driver all his life since he was young, and then also started his own company. But I wrote a song called He Loves the Road about Gary because I'll never forget him telling me with tears in his eyes one day that the biggest push and pull of his life is how much the road calls him, and yet he's also married and has a family, and that real push and pull of um how do you balance that? And I'd like to ask you two this actually. How do you balance the love of the road and the love of home, the love of your family? Like how do you emotionally balance that? Either one of you or both of you to answer that, because that's tricky.
Very tricky.
Go
Today,
ahead.
today it's a lot easier because I'm home every day. But whenever I was out on the road 30 years ago, it was tough. I mean, I called home twice a week, Wednesday nights and Saturday nights, and you want to make sure you got plenty of time. You want to make sure you got plenty of time because you got a lot to catch up on. And
Yeah.
it was tough balancing it, but yeah, I kept it in my mind. I'm doing it for my family. I'm doing it for my love, but I'm doing it for my family. So, you know, Tim.
Yeah, so unlike Steve, Lindsay, I've always run for an LTL company. I can say from the perspective of having to run nights for so long, I really missed a lot of things that went on with my kids and birthdays and stuff like that because I was running a night shift, and it was hard, and sometimes it's still hard because like right now. Some of my families, they're on spring break and I have to work and, I can't go with them. So, but when you do have that time with them, you make the best of it. Yeah, I mean, you get in there and you make it to 100%. Be involved, jump in, and be there, and you cherish every moment of it.
That's
Amen.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah, amen is right. It sounds like, I mean, the word intention keeps coming to mind. What is your, I think intention is everything. So what is your intention behind what you're doing? Is your intention because equal parts, you love the road, you love your job, and you're also doing it to support your family or your friends, yourself, whatever it is.
yeah.
Um, that's, I mean, that kind of sums it all up. So
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
hang on just a minute, Tim. I got one thing to say. You know, what you made a comment a while ago that truckers got stories. Well, do you
oh
know
yeah.
there's an old saying that if you want the word put out, you had telegraph, then they come up with a telephone, tell a trucker, tell a trucker nationwide. So, and of course that goes back to the days of the CB radio. Nowadays you don't hear much on the CB radio. Hardly anybody ever runs one, but I got one. But yeah, telegraph, telephone, tell a trucker.
Teletrucker, that's great. And now the new CB is I guess social media.
yeah,
The way to get the word out now.
it's absolutely you're right. You're right about that. Um, you've become a strong advocate for truck drivers, and you know, what really inspired you? What inspired that passion to become an advocate for truck drivers?
Well, when I first heard about, so my father, excuse me, my father is an attorney. Hang on. Hmm. Notice I start coughing when I start talking about attorney, about the law. What is that all about?
Right?
My father's an attorney, and he works a lot on the insurance side of things, and helping drivers actually get insured, and working with companies in that regard. So through some of his clients and other people's, how I kind of learned about more of the trucking side of things growing up, and how I got booked to play at the Great American Trucking Show. Rest in peace. Uh, 18 years ago, and that's when I met at the time the president of TCA, and he and I became great friends. We still are. And he was telling me about the Highway Angel program, and I said, well, that's incredible. Let me write a song for Highway Angel. And I'll never forget, it's Chris Burris was the president at the time of TCA. And he goes, and he's all buttoned up in his suit. And I'm wearing like, some little short skirt. And I'm like, he probably thought I was the dumbest person he'd ever met at the time. And I said, well, let me write a song for Highway Angel. And he said, no, 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 that's either going to be horribly cheesy or horribly depressing. And I said, well, perhaps, but let me take a stab at it. We did. Myself and my buddy Chris Roberts wrote Highway Angel, and it's become sort of an anthem for a lot of drivers I hear from, and which is really great. I love when I get to sing that song live and I see big old hardened truck drivers in the front with a tear in their eye. It makes me real happy. But I think that's when, between that and then, so I started really just reaching out, sort of soliciting, really, if you will, sort of truck drivers. Tell me your stories. Tell me what's going on. And obviously hearing the Highway Angel stories, but I just started researching people, the drivers, specifically the drivers. And what I realized, guys, is that I can be a bridge for those drivers, because I can go sit and have had dinner with the $1 billion trucking owner
Yeah.
and with the man or woman who's out on the road, who I sit and have a meal with at the truck stop, and
Yeah.
everything in between. And I think that's one of my biggest God-given gifts, is to be a conduit and to be able to listen to people and help other people feel seen.
Right.
It lights me up. It's really my biggest passion, and how I'm able just to have real raw conversations now. So I think that's what was really cool for me, and I'm aiming to do that even more so now with some of the work I'm doing behind the scenes, which continue to follow along with me, because we'll be announced in the next couple weeks, announcing an initiative I've been working on, that it is 100% driver focused, both creating both benefits for drivers, but creating a community for them. And that's, I'm not trying to sell the benefits or sell insurance or anything like that, or start a trucking company. That's not me. I'm selling stories. I'm selling people
Yeah.
by like listening to people and sharing their stories. And I just think driver stories are fascinating. Um, Also, and they're also sort of boring, and the boring ones are fascinating. You know what I mean? It's like the
Yeah.
boring stories are great because they're so real and relatable, and the crazy wild stories are so entertaining that you're like, I need to hear more of what you've seen on the road. And so yeah, I just want to share driver stories, and continue to connect the outside world with the trucking world.
Yeah, that's how this podcast was, born, was that, hey, we wanted to hear stories of the drivers, because we all have a story, and it's how we got started in the industry. We all got started at a different pathway, but we're doing the same thing for sure.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, truck drivers are misunderstood sometimes. And, uh, why do you think people outside of the trucking world, why do you think they misunderstand truck drivers?
Personal injury commercials,
Yeah.
maybe, for one.
Yeah.
Man,
Uh um the image of listen, I'm going to say this out loud, and this may not be smiled upon that I say it, but I'm saying it with complete sarcasm in my voice. I think there's a lot of people that hear trucking and think big fat trucker kills family of four. That's just it. That comes to mind.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
couldn't be further from the truth, as we know. And that's like this image that comes to anybody's mind, or they're scared of a truck out on the road. And uh that's just listen, it's not even the four-wheeler's fault. I think everyone's doing the best they can with the information they have, and they just, I know, if whether I was with TCA or anybody that I've worked with in the past, it's like there's so much red tape also, behind the scenes in the corporate world and the policy side, that it's like, I just want to tell this story. I want to get it out. But that there was so much red tape before we could do that, or share stories, or try to actually help just a driver out. It's like, yeah, that sounds great, but we got to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G before we can tell that story, before we can help that driver's family. And by the time the corporate side would get back to us, it's like, oh, that's over. Like, that's done, guys. And it's just, you've got to be a little more lean and mean to help people hard and quick and fast, I think. And there just hasn't been a way to do that, if
right.
that makes sense.
Yeah, makes perfectly good sense. From your perspective, how has the industry changed since you first started being involved in it?
Well, can you still hear me? Looks like my Paul
Yeah,
just did something.
yeah,
You can? Okay.
I got you. Just
Um, okay, cool. Well, women, for one, being more female drivers is probably one of the biggest things. I joke that whenever I'm at the women in trucking convention now, it's not so much like you're shocked when you see a woman out on the road. Now that's becoming more and more
right,
prevalent, and I think it's really cool to see like a company Fastport that I work with a lot in hiring our heroes. They do the transition trucking program, and they give away a truck every year, a Kenworth truck to a driver that's also a veteran. And so getting to meet some of the women who are stepping up and becoming more prevalent in the industry is certainly a big one. Obviously, AI and technology is a huge one. And I think the younger generations getting into it, like it's slowly but surely circling back to a trade that youth are interested in. I hope more, especially as we realize some of the things being taught in school are not really that prevalent, or like
right,
they're being held hostage in the prison that is the school. Sometimes people are like, oh, maybe I want to do something more with my hands and see the open road. So I
right.
think we're seeing more women, more youth, and we need those people to now be engaged and be confident to use their voice and tell people how great this industry is, because it's the youth and a lot of women using social media out there talking. So I think if we empower them more, then we continue to get the message out.
Exactly, exactly. Uh, we all face a lot of challenges out here as drivers, and I don't know. In your opinion, what deserves more attention out of the challenges that we face out here? What do you think needs more attention put on it?
Um, I mean, this one might be cliche, but it's true. Certainly, safety at the truck stop, safety for women and men. Not It's not just women, men too. Everybody alike. Um, um, Not just also the health side of things. Now, when I say that, I think there's so many people that try to get into trucking and be like, I want to sell a truck driver a salad, and I want to make a truck driver get out and do exercise at his truck every day. And it's like, are you doing that at your office? No. Like,
Right,
let's be honest. We're, you need to get, or, I'm going to sell them a program that they're going to lose 200 pounds naturally. And like that, come on, guys. Like, let's, it's so hard to be healthy and to be clean and sanitary, all these things out of the road. I just think we've got to be a little more practical about it and not so whimsical to think a driver is going to spend his few minutes of free time running around his truck. Now, if you do that, I think that's awesome. But like putting gyms in truck stops, it's sort of the same thing where I said with me, where it's like we want to do a concert for a trucker at a truck stop. Again, they're like, no, I'm at work. Like, that's
right,
cute, but like,
right.
I got to get back to work.
Yeah,
So I would say supporting drivers more on their off time. Like, don't add more things for a truck driver while they're working. Like,
right,
now also you got to go to the gym while you're working. And now also you got to try to eat this healthy salad. That's great. And I'm not, yes, we need to be healthy. We need our drivers to pass their inspections and their
right,
physical to be healthy, obviously. But
right.
maybe find some ways to benefit them when they're not working. And that's why this community that I'll be talking about in the coming weeks that we're growing is going to have things that are sort of sexy and fun for you to do on your off time. Like, get together. Here's a concert on your off time. Here's a we're working with people that are working with the GLPs and the peptides to do a program for truck drivers that is going to be cheaper and help them lose weight. Let's be honest, a kickstart to get the weight off quickly, and then we can talk about a salad. But if you're very overweight and very unhealthy because of what the industry has done to you, let's be honest. I don't think it's a lot of drivers' fault that they're unhealthy. We
Right.
put them in this sedentary lifestyle with these demanding hours and time crunches, and I got to get my stuff. Oh, but by the way, why are you so unhealthy? It's such an oxymoron, right?
Yeah.
So there's just got to be way more practical ways to support these men and women, and it's not a gym and a truck stop. It's not doing push-ups on your 5 minutes free time, and it's not eating a salad when you're trying to get to your destination.
Right. Right. Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, by the way, if you
No,
guys don't agree with that, because I've not sat behind the wheel of a truck outside of one time trying to drive it, and no one should ever let me do it again. So if
exactly.
that's not, if I have it wrong, please tell me.
No, no, you're exactly right. I mean, they keep pushing, 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 and we're already being pushed.
Mm,
You know, I mean, it's a good friend of the show, Bob Murphy. He says that ELD, it's a time clock. Once you start
mhm.
your day, you're up against the clock all day long, and then if you're trying to, you're allowed a 30-minute break, and you go in and choke down the salad. I mean, you can ask Tim. I always make, what's wrong with the industry? They took the round tables out of the truck stop.
Mm,
That's the worst thing right now. They talk about eating healthy, and you go in there and you get McDonald's and Taco Bell and Wendy's, and that's not healthy. That's not healthy, So yeah, it's there's a lot of challenges out here. But thank you, Tim.
Yeah, yeah. I'll jump back in here. I had to run downstairs there for just a minute ago. My nose was starting to stop up, so I had to go get some
me
nose cleaner.
too.
Yeah, I didn't know if you could hear that or not. I was like, "What's wrong with your voice?"
It happens.
Yeah, it's pollen down. I mean, there's pollen everywhere down here in South
Like
Georgia.
I was a couple months ago, they accused you of being Barry White. Next thing you know,
Well, Lindsay, let's jump into your podcast real quick, and let's talk about
Yeah.
what you got going on there. So you're now the host of We Should Write podcast. So what inspired you to start that?
So I have owned We Should Write and the rights to that name for 17 years. Now almost 18 years, by the way. And never really known what to do with it. It started as a joke with a girlfriend of mine here in Nashville one day. It's like, you meet a songwriter in Nashville. It's like, oh, you're a writer? We should write, right? It's like such a silly way of talking. And then you don't really ever actually do that. It's like, how's the weather, basically? And it was funny. I was actually, when I first moved to town, I was at Costco getting my eyes examined, because when you're starving artists, that's where you go to get your eyes checked. On a friend's Costco membership 18 years ago. I'll never forget it. And the optometrist, or whatever he was called, he may not have been legit, I don't know, who checked my eyes at Costco, asked me, he said, what do you do? And I said, oh, I'm a singer, I'm a songwriter, just moved to town. And he goes, oh yeah, I have a publishing deal. I have a songwriting publishing deal. And I'm like, well, of course you do. Of course, the man checking my eyes at Costco also has a writing deal in Nashville. That's so cliche. So we've already always sort of joked about it. And I thought, is it a community? Is it like, is it an app? Is it Match.com meets, Facebook for write? I didn't really know what it was. And then I realized last year, I'm like, it's a show, obviously. Like, it's what I do. It's a radio show. It's a podcast. It's a connecting people. And here's what's been so cool to me about it. First of all, when I launched it when I was at Nemo,
Yeah.
at Radio Nemo, and we launched it over on iHeart, which was awesome. Got it off the ground. And I thought in the beginning, first of all, people were like, well, why are you going to talk about writing with truck drivers? And I was like, again, because they're also humans. And by the way, truckers pitch me all the time ideas for songs, or songs in general. They're like, I wrote this, will you sing it? Truckers are always sending me lyric ideas, etc. And I was like, well, they're going to like it for a reason. And then I saw two things shift. A, truck drivers are listening, and they are telling me not only songs that one man in particular comes to mind, whose name I won't say, of course, but told me he started journaling every day because of my show. And now he's working out the fact that, at risk of being too heavy, that he was molested as a child. And he said, I didn't even know I needed to unlock that until I started writing and journaling after listening to your show. And I was like, mic drop. If I never do the show again,
Yeah.
there it is.
Right.
And the things that people can unlock about themselves just by writing. And for truckers, you men and women see so much every day on the road, like even just keeping a journal, or in the morning before you getting some stuff out of your head before you go hit the road, whether that's in a journal with a pen, whether that's just notes on your phone, or voice memoing, typing on your computer, whatever it is. I think we have to get stuff out. So the other thing that's been very cool about the show, initially I was like, we talked to songwriters and authors and creatives of all kinds about the healing power of writing. What I didn't really account for was the fact that, oh, this could be 8 billion episodes plus, because every single human has a story to tell, right?
Right.
About how they've healed and evolved and worked their own stuff out. And so, two things that just stand out really quickly, I'll tell you, as far as guests, I've had. Um, a man who is a veteran and an army he's an army combat veteran. He's been in counterintelligence for a long time, and he is a PTSD survivor, and he healed his PTSD through writing a fictional book through this character Dexter, and kind of told his story fictionally, which was he was able to place it somewhere else, and it didn't feel as hard or heavy, so he had that perspective on the show. And then another woman who came on the show who reconnected with a woman she went to camp with 30 years ago. She met her once, when they were teenagers, met at camp, reconnected these 30 years later on Facebook, that she saw that the woman's son was had terminal cancer. And she said, I just started writing, I found an address for her and just started writing her a handwritten letter every single week. She goes, for a year. Never heard back from her, just kept writing her every single day for every single week for a year. So eventually, unfortunately, the son passed and she got a letter back. And she said, I'm sorry, I never responded, but I want to let you know your letters help my family keep getting through. And so Amy Daughters is her name. She thought, well, what if I wrote a handwritten letter to every single one of my Facebook friends? And she did. All 586 of her
Wow.
Facebook friends, she wrote a handwritten letter to. And she started getting responses back from people saying, one guy said, I was contemplating suicide and your letter showed up. My mom was going through cancer and I felt alone and your letter showed up. So she put all that in a book. And my mind is just blown by those are just two examples of the crazy perspectives I'm getting. I'm interviewing a guy next week who is he's also in the CIA, and he has developed this lie detector test. He's like one of the foremost international criminal lie detector test givers. That's not the real title, obviously, but he's written a book now on lying. So we're going to talk about that perspective, the psychology around lying. Like, it's just fascinating. And I'm so excited that I get to have these kind of conversations for hopefully the rest of my life.
Yeah, and would you say that your mission behind the podcast is to actually get somebody to pull their emotions out and put it down on paper, and it be in therapy for them? Is that what your is that would you say that's what your mission is?
That's a great, yeah, for sure. Like in the intro, I say, writing is cheaper than therapy and dare more and way more, dare I say, honest. I'm not saying you shouldn't go to therapy. I'm just saying if you're not going to go to therapy, or in addition to, this is a good start to get some stuff out so that one of two things happen. You don't end up crying in a public place, been there, or maybe getting cancer. Or, I mean, I think a lot of disease comes from things we've stored in our body. I genuinely believe that, at risk of sounding woo woo. It's true. Like, dis-ease, disease means dis-ease. You've got something uneasy within you. And I think it can be what it can cure some things, maybe not everything, but it can certainly help.
Yeah, yeah, and you and I were kind of texting back and forth the other day a little bit, and conversations. And you said something today. You said, "Hey, our conversation could get deep on the podcast, right?" And does your conversations with some of your guests really, really? I mean, I've heard some of your podcasts. They do go deep. They do go deep, and uh,
Yeah.
I guess that's a connection that you have with your guests there. Has there been any guests that are memorable that stand out to you?
Yeah, I mean, all of them. Every time I say, "This is my favorite episode." Um, Cindy Thompson, who's a country singer, I remember her hit was "What I Really Meant to Say, That I'm Dying Here Inside." She had a hit with that song back in probably the early 2000s. She's beautiful. She stepped away. She had a number one with that song, and then stepped away from the music business right after it, because, like, at the height of her career, because she said it was just, she saw what it was going, she had things that she had to work out, that she wasn't, that was, she was going to take her down a bad path. And so she on the show actually was talking about being bullied as a kid and how it's stuff that she hadn't really worked through yet, and she stepped away. I've had so many guests on the show say, "Wow, I never said that to anyone before. I didn't say that out loud before." And I mean, I take that as a real compliment. I mean, I'm just a I'm just a vessel or a conduit for these people. But I think because, first of all, I've lived a lot of life. I've seen and done and experienced and been through a lot. And I am comfortable sharing a lot of that now, being
Mm,
like, all right, God gave me a platform for a reason. And I'm not shy about sharing it if it helps somebody else feel seen. That's been a big journey for myself, like helping others heal through healing myself.
right.
And so I think the fact that people are comfortable with me, and I have both the radio background, the music being on stage background, and also the trucking background. So all those different, it's kind of a pretty cool trifecta to help people feel seen through that. So yeah, for sure. I hope, like I said, that one person, I've already seen one person heal through it and some others too. So if that's it, then we're good. But I hope to keep doing that. And I've started doing, if you go over on my social media, I've started doing Lindsay's essay of the day,
Yeah.
because what I realized too, doing the We Should Write show, I was talking about other people's writing, but not myself. And I'd kind of stopped writing. I was like, oh, shoot, that's going against everything I'm talking about. So I've committed, I'm releasing these essay a day. And I hope you'll follow along. And I'm just writing what comes to mind in the morning. Sometimes it's heavy. Sometimes it's just an observation. Sometimes it's a crazy, funny story from my life, and that's been a fun connection as well. So follow me along on, on, so Lindsay, I think you put the website up, but if
I did.
lindsaylawler.com or we should write.com, the podcast We Should Write, we have about 26 episodes, including Larry Gatlin, the great Larry Gatlin, who came
I
and
was gonna
sat here.
yeah.
Yeah, he came and sat here in my house. And that one we hadn't moved, we've just moved to video. So only one episode on video, but that's about to kick off within the coming weeks. You'll see everything be on video from here on out. And so I'm going to have Larry back at some point so we can see the video, because what you missed with him, just audio, we played a song from Chris Christopherson. He was talking about a song that's helped heal him, and it was one of, as he said, one of my best friends, Chris Christopherson, and he was wearing a Christopherson t-shirt. And when we played the song, Gatlin just closed his eyes and put his head down and kind of rubbed his chest and said, I miss you, buddy, and had a tear in his eye. And I'm like, this is such a cool moment. No one can see it. So we've moved to video now, but there's about 26 episodes on any, wherever you stream your podcasts, that are, you can go here now, and then you can also find it on YouTube is the best place. Just on YouTube, go to We Should Write. You'll see the first episode that came out with Gold Pine, and in the coming weeks from here on out, you should be getting a new one a week. We're just having to do some technical stuff and buy cameras, and it costs a lot of money to do this. Somebody said to me the other day, I'm thinking about getting me a podcast. I'm like, that's not, you don't just get you a
You don't.
podcast.
No, you
You
don't
guys
just say
know.
about
No,
yeah.
it's more in depth than that. Since you're talking about music and everything, how has your life experiences, including the trucking world, influenced your songwriting?
Oh, massively. Um, I mean, I've written a lot of it's been cool that kind of, it's been like sort of an assignment to write songs. I wrote a song for Women in Trucking, for the Citizen Driver program, for Reese Across America, Highway Angel, a couple other, different trucking entities I've written songs for. And it was always sort of an interesting mission for me to be like, if you're in trucking, you get it, but if you're not, you understand it too, and not be so on the nose, not be so 18 wheels, and you know what I mean. It's like, say back to my point, the truckers like other things as well. So like, we can speak to the trucking community without being, being so on the nose. There's plenty of people a lot of guys and girls out there who actually drive trucks and make trucking music. I'll let them sing about what it's like to drive a truck, because I can't sing about that, but I can sing about the human experience,
Right.
and about the stories I've heard from drivers, and what I know from experience myself, what it's like to be out on the road in a different capacity. So yeah, it's, I mean, just being able to sing from a and to write from a perspective of knowing what it's like to be on the road, and to hear these drivers' stories. It's changed my music quite a bit, and why you can hear a lot of my trucking music online, and I wouldn't have been able to write any of those songs without of hear with if I hadn't have heard all the truck driver stories ever.
Right. Exactly. Do you remember the first song you wrote?
Period. The song I ever wrote.
Yeah, first song you ever wrote.
Okay, well, two. I can tell you the first song I wrote when I was 5, and it was my friend Sophie in kindergarten had to move to Australia, and I was brokenhearted. And it was, Sophie, I miss you so much. I wish you'd always come back. It goes on and on. I think I have it on YouTube somewhere. But the first song I wrote when I got to Nashville is to this day my favorite song I've ever written. It's called Spin the Bottle. I need to go back and re record it because it was recorded 15 or 16 or 17 years ago. It's called Spin the Bottle. Um, but it's not about kissing somebody in a closet or playing that game as a teenager. It's about I wrote it when I was singing at Tootsie's, and I would watch so many people come in and out and watch their stories, especially somebody who was in there drinking at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. I'm like, what's that about? You're drinking at 10 on a Tuesday. Now, granted, I was there too, and I probably had a beer in my hand, so no judgment. But I wanted to know everything about it, and um, the idea of the late night, whether I was singing in the morning or late night, to see somebody who you meet somebody. The idea is, am I going to spin this bottle, metaphorically, and go home alone tonight, or go home with this person? It's a lonely person song, but it's my favorite song. It just has a lot of heart to it. So
Right. So when you write, you're basically writing to connect with people. Is that what
100%, 100%.
perfect?
Yeah, but yes, through getting I used to write a lot more general and think, "Oh, I wanna write so general so that everybody can relate." And what was funny, something really shifted lately. Now I write really specific, and oddly
Right.
enough, the more specific I get to my life, the more massive people, not massive, whatever, but the more people can relate to it, which is odd because you're when you write specific, you're creating these sort of movies and these stories that people can put themselves in, and then they want to share their perspective of on your perspective, if that makes sense.
Yep. Makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, I cannot believe at how this hour is going by, Lindsay.
I
We,
know.
we got like 4 minutes left in the show, and we're going to
Which
have
is good because my phone looks like it's about to die. So if for some reason it cuts off, goodbye now, and I love you all.
well, let's get into some of the closing questions that I had here for you. So what projects are you working on right now that fans and drivers should be excited about, without naming, or some of them you can't name right now, but
Yes.
kind of give us a bit.
Yeah, everything we should write. If you go to weshouldwrite.com, that podcast, the guests that are coming up, I have some really exciting guests coming up, which I'll be promoting online soon to tell. I mean, hit songwriters, to truck drivers, to members of the CIA, to Dana Perino. I spoke with, who's was is on Fox News, and she was George Bush's press secretary. She and I struck up a relationship. She's got a fiction book out, and so I've got to figure out when and where. But so some cool guests coming up, just everywhere, kind of from all perspectives. Um, and I'm really liking doing this essay of the day. It's forcing me to write and share some heavy stuff, but also some light stuff. So and this um not going to say the name yet, to your point, but
Yeah,
this I guess we'll call it an association, a community. It can both, rather.
yeah,
I'm going to be pushing the community aspect. You will see what this is in the next coming weeks, but
yes,
just know that we've been working on something for 5 years now. When I say we, I'm talking about with some insurance company and benefits and attorney, and it is all legit and ethic. My father's an attorney, so it is as legit as to a fault. That's why it's taken a long time to get it off the ground, because he's such a rule follower.
yeah.
But it is with the driver in mind, and I'm not saying we're reinventing the wheel, except for the fact that we're reinventing the wheel when it comes to actually putting drivers first, not just saying we're putting drivers first, and community, and having a community aspect that lets drivers share their stories, feel seen, feel heard. That's what's important to me. So if that sounds like something that's interesting to you, follow along, because we're going to take care of the driver if it kills us.
well, I got two
And
more
it
questions.
might.
I got two more questions for you, and then we're going to let Steve close the show out. But hang tight. We want to talk to you on the other side of the show there for sure. So message to the driver. What message would you like to share with the truck drivers listening that used to listen to you on the Nemo show, and over on that other one, whatever it is? I'm not even going to name that other one,
It's
but
fine.
yeah. But what message would you like to tell them?
Thank you. You are seen. You are so valuable. You are so valuable, and not just as a truck driver, as a human.
Yeah.
Your work, and I know there's some people that get into the industry because they don't feel seen, so they kind of just want to hide in their truck. If you're one of those people, stop it, because you are amazing. And I mean, that sounds really cheesy and Pollyanna and basic, but I mean it with my whole heart. I want it, I am going to reiterate it. I so badly want people to feel seen, because even with this life that I led that sometimes looks more glamorous than it is, I've spent a lot of time lonely and in hotel rooms and crying and thinking nobody knew what was going on in my life. And it's sad. It's hard traveling, and that's a hard, lonely life. And you're seen and valued. If there's nothing else that I leave, when I believe that so wholeheartedly. And message me if you don't feel seen, and I will make sure you do.
Right, exactly. Well, that's very good advice, and we always end the show on a word of advice for sure. I got one fun question. I'm going to let Steve have the mic, and we're going to close the show out. Okay, the fun question is: if you had a ride along, with a trucker, and a trucking trip, and could only bring 3 songs, who would the artist be? Including yourself, and what songs would make the road trip playlist?
Well, I'm gonna say I'll circle back to how we started out. George Strait, Willie Nelson, and Reba McEntire. Those are my. I'll bring them in the truck with us. We'll have them in the back of the cab, maybe cooking and singing to us. Always on my mind. So I have a couple songs that I always sing to my daughter every night. My daughter is 7, and since she was a newborn, I sing "Always on My Mind" by Willie Nelson to her. One of the greatest songs of all time. Written for it, just one of the best songs of all time. Always on my mind. I sing "The Way You Look Tonight," which is not one of those artists, but Willie has done a version of it. Um, and "Just to See You Smile" by Tim McGraw. That song I also sing to her, but that song I love driving to. And
Yeah,
I think drivers can relate to that. Just like "Just to See You Smile." That's like a reminder of why I'm doing this, what I'm working for to get back home to. So those are some of my songs and artists.
yeah, absolutely. Well, Lindsay, it's been great having you on Truckers Voices and coming and sharing with us. We'll have to have you back on in the future, and
Please.
see what's going on for sure. But from me, Trucker Voices, and Steve, we appreciate you, and to our listening audience tonight, we really appreciate you tuning in and listening, and listening in on the replay for sure. Steve, I'm going to hand the mic to you. But everybody, if you're traveling tomorrow, you remember what I always say: look out for those who aren't looking out for themselves.
Yep, exactly. Well, folks, that's going to wrap up another great episode of Truckers Voices. Lindsay, thank you so much for spending time with us and sharing your story tonight. We really
Thank you for
appreciate
having
you
me.
being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Please have me back, because I've got more to say. I talk a lot, sorry, but you guys are wonderful.
And before we sign off, I want to give a big thank you to our sponsor, country music artist Patrick Laurel. Be sure to check out his music, including his latest album, Truck Driving Man. Patrick has been a great supporter of what we're doing here, and we truly appreciate him backing the show. Also, thank you
Awesome.
to everyone listening on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever you tune in from. If you enjoyed tonight's conversation, be sure to share the show and help us continue to highlight the voices of the trucking industry. Until next time, for Tim, myself, and Miss Lindsay, keep the wheels turning, stay safe out there, and thanks for listening to Truckers' Voices. And remember, folks, the most important trip is the trip home. God bless you all. See you on the other side, Lindsay.
Opinions expressed on Truckers' Voices are those of the host and the guest, and do not reflect the views of any employer,